Hi folks, Tino here at the Celtic Exchange, and I'm delighted to announce today that to coincide with the start of the new Celtic season, we're bringing you, our listeners, more ways than ever to enjoy our unique Celtic content. As regular listeners will know, we've been producing our popular weekly show every week since way back in December 2020, and don't worry, that will remain free and available on your podcast player of choice. However, following numerous requests for more shows and content to enjoy throughout the season, we are now taking things to a whole new level with the introduction of the Celtic Exchange Plus. With various different subscription levels available, starting from just £1 per month, the Celtic Exchange Plus allows you to enjoy at least 12 new and exciting shows each month, including pre- and post-match shows for every Celtic game, our exclusive Celtic Relived series, special episodes with coaches, journalists and ex-Celtic players, and much, much more. For more information on all of our new subscription plans and to sign up for a free 14-day trial, simply visit thecelticexchange.supercast.com today. That's thecelticexchange.supercast.com and take a front row seat with us for another exciting season of all things Celtic. We can't wait for the big kick-off, and we'll see you at the Celtic Exchange Plus for our biggest season yet. As the great man Ange would say, we never stop. Visit thecelticexchange.supercast.com for full details today.
Celtic Exchange, a fresh insight on Celtic Football Club.
This is episode 72 of the Celtic Exchange. This is Miff, guest host, and this week I'm joined by James and Sinky as we look forward to the competitive season kicking off. Well, I've been hit to be host as Tino has unfortunately contracted COVID. Lads, welcome to the show. James, observant listeners will notice that it's me and not Tino. Are you looking forward to the next 50 minutes and seeing how this goes?
Can't wait, Miff. Can't wait.
I'm normally the one that people ask to do readings at sort of weddings and stuff like that, so here's hoping I can hold my composure as I'm reading through this agenda. Sinky, welcome back. How's pre-season been for you, mate?
It's been good. You're looking
in good condition.
I'm tandem relaxed, mate. It's good to be back. I'm out of retirement.
Was there anything in particular that brought you
there was. I'll tell the listeners the story. So I was driving down the road to work last week to Manchester. Listen to the podcast as we do, and heard a few comments that I wasn't particularly happy with, so I thought I'd come out of retirement and put the record straight. I mean, a couple of these are touting James Forrest to be the surprise package of the season. I'll leave you for a couple of months. I come back to this. Come on, man. What is? Sorry, I've got my wingman. He'll back me up here. I get
the feeling I'm maybe outnumbered on that subject tonight, but we'll get into that. Okay. As we go along. So this week we'll be covering Saturday's final pre-season game against Norwich. Luckily enough, I was there. We'll take a look at how the squad is shaping up ahead of the new season, and we'll also have a look at Sunday's big kick-off against Aberdeen and just have a chat about how we feel the squad's shaping up and what sort of shape we're in generally. Interesting to hear that Ange thinks we might even add another couple coming in, hopefully a deadline day similar to last year. That would be nice, lads. Me make my debut as host as well, so we'll see how this will go with Jinx Sinky.
It suits you, mate. The hot seat suits you.
Hurry up back, Tino. Right, anyway, here we go. Section 1 we'll go for the Celtic Norwich game. So Celtic 2, Norwich 0. Maeda 37 minutes, Turnbull 67 minutes. Nice number that. Personally, I thought Norwich were really disappointing. Found it quite hard to work out what they were there to actually do. They didn't really seem to make much an imprint in the game. It was kind of like a SPL team sitting in and waiting to get beat. How I seen it.
Yeah, they were time wasting and putting two balls in the pitch and all that. Just dirty football stuff, and you're going, what are you going to learn from that as a team, Norwich? But you could see at one point there, I think it was the left back went to take a throw in, and the left mid went, just slow it down, because they were just run ragged with Celtic's pace. So a good test, I suppose. We'll see a lot of that this season from opposition, so a good test for Celtic, and they came through it well. So not a great opposition in terms of, they had nothing going forward at all, I found. So it was really just what you could do to unpick them.
Absolutely. And Sinky, what was your thoughts?
I thought they were very passive. They did look like a team that had been relegated for the top league. Short in confidence. But I'm surprised. I mean, Dean Smith's a decent gaffer. I thought he'd have them well organised, but it just looked for them as a fitness exercise. And we're a wee bit ahead of that. Obviously, the opposition we've been playing in recent weeks. So, they didn't really offer much. But yet again, I mean, it gave a good indication of the possible starting 11 for next week.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was quite interesting. Everybody was waiting to see what the starting 11 would be. Could you read into that would be the starting 11 next week against Aberdeen? I wasn't too sure with just a couple of the selection.
I think I did a wee bit of kind of scribbles and stuff. I would have taken maybe 5 out of the team. Off the top of my head, I can't really recall who they are, but I think you're
no doubt Taylor.
No, I thought Taylor was excellent Saturday. I think he's responding well to the pressure.
It's his jersey.
His jersey for sure. And you saw when Bernabe came on, he's got something. I think he's a bit of an Aaron Hickey player, great going forward. I'm not seeing the defensive side yet.
I think absolutely he's a winger.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
absolutely he's a winger.
Yeah.
He looks great going forward.
They're trying to batter him into being a left back. Again,
it's typical. It's a Ross Wallace syndrome. Yeah. I'm not comparing him to Ross Wallace before anybody starts. The interesting thing for me around the starting team was Maeda getting the nod over Abada, because I thought Abada was particularly good last week, but Maeda was, I thought, excellent. Yeah,
it's funny that you've got no complaints between Maeda, Jota and Abada. Just pick any two from those three and I'll be happy, kind of thing. I would have started Abada, and I would start Abada against Aberdeen. I just think he's looking keen and fresh and hungry. But then Maeda comes in and he's flying, so it's a real difficult choice, but a great problem to have.
I was different. I believe that did look the strongest 11 even for next week. The only one I would have out there was probably Stephen Welsh. I do believe that would be the starting 11. I much prefer Jota on the right to the left. Maeda has been excellent. Don't know that's. I didn't even have that in his locker. That wee back flick. It was lovely. But honestly, for me, I do believe that was the closest to the strongest 11 that would play. I mean, we could argue all day, but you're right. I mean, we're sitting here and we're blessed with such a strong, like Tino mentioned the other week, 16, 17, 18 players that you could rotate no problem, quality for quality.
Absolutely. And James, I know you remain unconvinced about David Turnbull as long term in terms of being a fit for the team, which I understand, but I think you can see in the way he took his goal, particularly on Saturday, it does, to my mind anyway, he seems to offer just that something a wee bit different to the other guys that we've got in there. And don't worry, we will go into the likes of Hatate and McGregor as well. But I think you see, I think the thing about Turnbull is he is a genuine goal threat.
I think he is. Just to be on record, Turnbull's an absolute talent. He's a clever footballer.
And I'm not trying to trip you up here. What I mean is he's fit. He's general fit for an Ange style of play.
I don't think there is a fit, really. I really don't. He's just too ponderous for me, despite being a very, very intelligent player where he's a couple of moves ahead of most players. It's just his pace isn't there. His thinking's there, but his pace isn't, so not for me, I'm afraid, Miff.
Yourself, Sinky? Do you see him as a long-term Celtic player?
I don't, unfortunately. I do think he's a talent, he's a good player. One of his main qualities is ball retention, whereas we want to shift the ball quite sharp. You can notice that the 1-2 touch passing, especially in pre-season. He's just got quality ahead of him. He's not done much wrong. I mean, obviously last year he played a lot of games. He was the go-to guy for the first part of the season before he got injured. But he's just come up against a couple of talents that are just ahead of the game.
I appreciate your points, but all I'm hearing here is a bit of South Lanarkshire bias against a North Lanarkshire boy. Wrong side of the Clyde, simple as that. If he'd been born on the other side, it'd be fine. Sinky, just Reo Hatate, I did mention him earlier, picked up man of the match. He's been looking really sharp through pre-season. I thought Saturday was another imperious performance. He's one of those players that, to me, he does things that I've not anticipated him doing. You're looking for a pass out wide, he shoved it inside, he's played a wee through ball, he's produced a nutmeg, just a really exciting player. What's your expectations for him?
Obviously, he's done the debate last week about Jota player of the season and stuff like that. For me, he's going to be the main man. You're spot on. Like, he tried to play a couple of passes that I wouldn't even have seen. There was a couple of ones that just missed the mark through balls. I mean, he, to me, has started, especially pre-season, like a man possessed. And obviously, be playing in Japan for the full season and coming over to us. But he looks as though he's mature and he's looking as though he's getting fit. And he's an exciting talent, and he's one of these guys we'll need to enjoy while we've got him, because I think he's going to go. I think that's a stepping stone. I think Ange mentioned it when he first signed. He's got big ambitions, but he's definitely got something special.
I think that's a great point. I think to me he plays like someone who knows he's been afforded a big opportunity here, and I think over the course, you heard the quotes when he went back to Japan in pre-season. It was almost like whilst he was jaded, he felt a bit of pressure for the fans, both good and bad. But he's come back almost like he's got a point to prove to you.
Yeah, point to prove, or just he's just got fit. I mean, you've seen some of the photos of him training. He looks just sharp as a tack. You're going to see a lot of, you saw in the second half, a lot of Hatate balls to Maeda, TCE. That's going to be a common theme this season. And I agree with Sinky. I think he's going to be right on Jota's heels for Player of the Year. I thought he was outstanding on Saturday, and long may that continue.
I think he produced about 3 or 4 different megs, just poetry in motion, just as he was moving with the ball. He's one of those players that looks great just when he's driving forward with the ball. I love watching Hatate.
The way to explain it is, you've got guys, right, who play 11 aside, but they're 5-a-side players. He plays 11s like 5-a-sides. That's how easy it is when they're not
but it's still brilliant.
It's brilliant to watch. Exciting.
He's just outstanding. So notable talking points for the game. Couple of debuts. We'll start with Moritz Jens. Sinky, what was your thoughts?
I had a really good block. It was a great start to his career. I was not seen enough of him. It was questioned about his aggression. I think it was one of his interviews during the week with the press conference. He looks a good fit. It does remind me of Julian. Looks wise, obviously, as well, but it does look like that type of player who's a baller. But I think once you see him in competitive action, but obviously we've been interested in him for a while. He's been on the cards for over a year, and I think Matt O'Reilly's tapped him up, and we've got him. As far as a debut goes, good, but need to see more.
I'm a huge fan of that. Got to ask your mate if he wants again. I think that's an overlooked tactic in recruiting. I mean, for me, what I would say about Jens is immediately look comfortable on the ball. So I compare that with debuts of other centre halves that I've seen. Probably harshly, Marvin Compers is the one that stands out. Where immediately you knew he was, he was rattling as soon as he get the ball, and you're like, no. I thought with him, he even had a wee reverse pass in there as well when he was under pressure and we were getting hemmed in. For the way that Ange wants to play, a centre half that's worth his weight in gold. I think the biggest criticism of Starfelt willing to try things like that, but he looks uncomfortable in doing it.
Yeah.
I think with Jens, he just looked like somebody that was immediately comfortable on the ball.
Yeah. For me, that's your centre half pairing already sorted. Carter Vickers and Jens.
Already?
Yeah.
Job done.
I just thought he was effort. He's immediately as soon as he got on the pitch. Everything he had to do, he did really well. But he's got that, like you're saying, the comfort of stepping out of defence. It's not like, and fair play to Starfelt. You can see he's a bit kind of nervy on it, but does it and gets away with it as such. But Jens does it in a very relaxed fashion.
I think in fairness to Starfelt, I was critical of Starfelt at the start of last season, but I was watching him Sky do the reruns of the games, in the game at Ibrox, the amount of times that Starfelt drove forward with the ball into space, really put us on the attack. We were 1-0 down under pressure as well. I think that says a lot about his character. He's saying, right, I need to take this game by the scruff of the neck. I was very disappointed for him getting injured, because I think it would have been great for him if, obviously it would be great for him to come and get a pre-season, but given what happened last season where he was interrupted as well, I think it's just really unfortunate for him. But in Jens, I think we've got an ideal replacement for him. Aaron Mooy also made his debut. I think it's a bit harsher to judge him on that on the basis of his background. James, what did you make of it? I think we got about 20 minutes of him.
Yeah, it was about 50 minutes or so. He was involved an awful lot for the small amount of time he was on the pitch. So I think he's just going to be one of those rotated midfielders that we'll really need. I don't think he's a first 11 starter. He might go on to get match fitness and prove us wrong there. But for me, he's just, if you'd said last year, I'm going to replace Beaton with an Australian international, would you think? You'd go, aye, probably. So I think he's that mould. Beaton was still needed last year, and came on and slowed games down and all that stuff. And Mooy's versatile in that he can play anywhere in that midfield three. Well,
I think my memories of Mooy, especially when he played with Huddersfield, he's a bit of an orchestrator, really. He sits in that deep position, but he's more into getting the ball and driving the team forward than he is necessarily doing the sort of break-up. You could argue Beaton was the same at times. But he was a real focal point for that Huddersfield team when they get promoted. It'll just be interesting to see. He's obviously got on a wee bit now. If he gets fit, Sinky, what sort of impact he can make for us this season.
In terms of that position, that number 6, he's been playing a bit with Australia. They mentioned that in his press conference. He's ahead. He's ahead of McCarthy for me. He's ahead of Gucci as well. So when we're playing that deep line midfielder, he will be in rotation, quite rightly so. But he's definitely a player. I mean, I remember watching Huddersfield as well, and he was the focal point. He was the orchestrator. He was the playmaker. He was the baller. We've got that in abundance at the moment in our squad. So he will play a part. I mean, the whole squad will play their part. But it's a good signing. I think he's just going to find himself rotated quite a lot. The way we play, and he's 31 years old. He is getting on a bit. I don't think he's going to play week in and week out, but I think he is ahead of the other people, the other defensive midfielders.
I just wanted to pick up on that, Sinky. So you mentioned there, he's just come in the door. As James said, he came on the park. We've seen guys like Iraguchi and McCarthy come on with similar time frames and not really impose themselves in the game. The interesting thing for me was, whilst Mooy did a lot right and a lot wrong in that cameo, his level of involvement was fairly significant comparative to the other two. For me personally, I think Iraguchi just seems to be lacking that something. I don't know if he's a bit too slow. I don't know if he's maybe just not settled or adjusted the same as the other Japanese guys that have come in. But to me, listen, he got a bad injury pretty much as soon as he joined, and it's difficult to come back for that. You know, I do feel sorry for him in that regard. But at the end of the day, Ange was signing these guys to come in, make an impact, drive the team on. All the guys that he signed have, apart from really him, and probably James McCarthy would fit into that as well. The signing of Mooy, where does that leave Iraguchi and McCarthy for you?
They'll kick us off. I believe one of them will probably have to either up sticks, maybe a loan. McCarthy's in a 4-year deal, so he's probably not going to know. That's maybe worse than the James Forrest. Saga. Whoever gave James McCarthy a 4-year deal. Aye, all right. Gucci might get back to Japan, potentially. McCarthy, we're touching a guy in 20 minutes. He's played 20 minutes against Norwich. We're making him the first choice, although the first choice at the rotation defensive midfielders. McCarthy's a wee bit longer than that, and he's not delayed me his time. I know Tino's a fan. Gucci, you're right, he's had an injury, but you're right, he seems to be lacking that something, and he did get fit before obviously the end of last season, and he didn't really get a look in at all. So I was going to say the jury's still out. For me, the only one the jury's noting is McCarthy.
Well, the thing that kind of baffles me slightly is just the lack of game time they've had. Even when McCarthy's been coming on, it's been 20 minutes rather than a 45. You know, you would have thought somebody like him who was underutilised last season may have got longer than that. James, where do you stand in the whole McCarthy, Iraguchi, Mooy?
Big fan of McCarthy. Doesn't look like it's going to work. That's my summation so far. Because he's been given chances and he's not been getting involved. I think he's a real talent, but just whether it's the legs have gone or whatever kind of thing. He's a good guy to bring on in a Ralston style, just start slamming bodies about and stuff. You know, he can dig in.
He can do that. And he's done it a few times. He's had a tasty 50-50 here.
He nearly set one within 2 seconds of coming against Warsaw. Did you see that?
Yeah. So McCarthy, I think he's struggling. Who knows? Gucci seemed to be a confidence issue more than anything else. Everyone said he was the guy out of the 4 Japanese players that were signed. He was the one that was going to, blow the league apart, and it's just not happened for him. So it might be that post-injury confidence that needs to get back. I don't even know if he was stripped on Saturday. I don't even know if he was togged out. So that tells you a lot. If he wasn't there, not to get togged out for a friendly.
Interesting. Well, be interesting to see how it develops. Although I think in itself, the fact we're debating those two shows the strength of the squad. The last one I want to touch on, we've already discussed him slightly, was David Turnbull staking his claim. Good goal, but would you say that he's behind Hatate and O'Reilly in terms of starting? Booth, will start with you, James.
On paper, yes, but O'Reilly was pretty poor on Saturday for the second week in a row. Just a wee bit kind of anonymous, and not like him. Big season for him. I'm a big fan of him, so I would say an on fire Matt O'Reilly starts with Hatate and McGregor in the 6 kind of thing. So yeah, Turnbull's not dislodging any of them for me.
Sinky?
Well, you're looking at Turnbull's a more established player. O'Reilly, as James says, massive season, bags of ability, bags of potential. Showed it in glimpses last year. Obviously, he's only been with us for 6 months, and he was not had the greatest game. That could be a straight shootout between Turnbull and O'Reilly. Absolutely, because they're very, very, very similar. But O'Reilly gives you more. He's more dynamic. He's more direct. Or Turnbull, as I said earlier on, a wee bit more ball retention, just to big up the North Lanarkshire boys. I believe between the two, it's a straight shootout.
I just don't know where I'm sitting on that one. I really don't. I love Turnbull. I think he's a cracking player, and I think he's potentially got a very long Celtic career ahead of himself. O'Reilly, though, he is a bit of an X factor. I think there's something aesthetically more pleasing about a lefty, especially always uses the outside of the left. It's a kind of, it's just a good look. He seems to find those wee pockets of space. I think he may be more adept at playing a faster tempo one-touch style of play than David Turnbull. Mm-hmm. However, that said, I think Turnbull is just more of a goal threat. It might just depend on a game-by-game basis what Ange sees as being the best fit for a particular game. If I had to start one of the two and you to say, no, I need to pick one, it'd be Turnbull for me.
Really?
Nah, it'd be Turnbull.
So who do you think, for Ange's style of play, who do you think gets the ball to Jota, Abada, Kyogo, Giakoumakis? Who gets the ball through to them more, Turnbull or O'Reilly?
What frustrated me a lot about Turnbull was there was about 3 times he could have played Abada.
Yeah. Abada went bananas at one point.
Abada did give him an earful a couple of times, and rightly so, by the way, because
he was on.
I did shout quite forcefully just past the ball.
Yeah,
I may have used different words to that,
but those are the chances that we need to take, to break lines and stuff.
For a man of Turnbull's ability, it wasn't a hard ball either. I wouldn't say
it was
just
right there.
Slip it inside the full back and he's away, and then he delayed it and then played it. He went for the safe option and played it out to him. So again, these are small things, but you pick them up when you're at the game and you just see the tempo that we're obviously being asked to play it, or players are being asked to play it, and he's not really responding to it.
I don't think that is a small thing in Ange's team. I think that's a huge thing, because that's the whole ethos of how we play is fast and fluid football.
I knew you were going to see ethos there. Love it.
Did you?
Love it.
But do you know what I mean? If we don't have the fluid football, then we're not playing Ange's way. No,
and again, I think that it remains to be seen what Ange regards as his strongest team, but I think we're definitely getting closer and no closer than Sunday to finding that out. Mm-hmm. Speaking about ethos, James.
Yes.
Got some exciting news.
Please do tell.
Some very exciting news. So, as we've alluded to on our social channels and in previous episodes, we have got the Celtic Exchange Plus to discuss. So before we continue this week's show, I want to tell all of our listeners of the exciting news we've announced this week about our new subscription offer at the Celtic Exchange. The Celtic Exchange will give our listeners access to a whole new range of shows across the month, including pre-match, post-match for every Celtic game, our exclusive Celtic Relived series, which I can vouch is very exciting, special episodes with coaches, journalists and ex-Celtic players, and much, much more, which may be some more Sinky content, maybe some more James content, and indeed it may be some more Tino content. But you'll just need to wait and see what that is. So if you visit the celticexchange.supercast.com, that's celticexchange.supercast.com. Now, for full details, you can start a 14-day free trial. And don't worry, for those of a tighter persuasion, the weekly show will still remain free. The flagship show, where you get an hour of us. So that'll be fine. The real response to this, James, is there has been a demand, unbelievably, for more content. I find it quite hard to believe myself, but people actually want to hear more of us, James.
Yeah, I think, particularly the pre and post match shows, we get into the car ourselves on Saturday and we were heading off to record our post match show, but we weren't too interested in tuning into what Radio Scotland, Radio Clyde had to say. We actually tuned into a free plug for Axom. We tuned into that because we'd rather hear what Celtic fans forgot to say about a Celtic game. So it's similar to that, but there was a lot of asking for it, towards the end of last season. So that's why we brought it back.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously it's exciting to be part of. So I can't wait just to get going and get the additional content out there.
No,
what's your thoughts, Sinky?
It's exciting, but if anyone wants to see more Sinky content, I've got an OnlyFans. if anybody's interested,
I set that one up. Man.
You did. Man. Yeah, I'm sorry. Do you know what is exciting? And James is right. Like, going home for the game, I want to listen to Celtic-minded people. I don't want to be listening to people making comments. Clickbait. I don't want to hear clickbait. I'd rather hear
genuine opinions.
The boys talking about the boys, and I think that's the way forward.
It seems to be something that's becoming more prevalent now. Like you say, James, before you would switch your radio on to hear, the likes of the thoughts on a Celtic victory from an ex-Rangers player, which always seemed out of sync. We would moan about that for years and years and years as Celtic fans, that the representation of Celtic in the media was often fairly poor. Now, you've got a shift, you've got a change. You can go online, you can tune into the latest kind of podcast with your player, and you're hearing from Celtic fans that have no doubt been at the game. What their thoughts are straight away sometimes can be quite impassioned. I certainly know when we first started doing the podcast, and I was maybe doing post matches during the COVID season, driving in, and oh man, it was
raw.
I think Tino was receiving calls for his family over in Ireland asking if I was alright and stuff like that. So, but just a wee bit to add, just the first 100 subscribers will be entered into a draw to win the new Celtic home shirt. So wee bonus in there if you get signed up nice and quick. Trips. So we'll move on for that. Looking at the season ahead. So, pre-season's now ended. Real stuff starts at weekend. We definitely face some mixed quality opposition. I think that's Tino's reference to Werner Victoria, or as he referred to him, Werner Victoria Juniors. But came out unbeaten with 3 wins, 3 draws, which is encouraging given that the whole squad have been utilised at one point or another. Sinky, who's impressed you most across pre-season, and where do you think the gaps are if Celtic want to go on and make some sort of impact in Europe this season?
What a question. Going back to your man Hatate, he's been absolutely, it just looks like an absolute baller. He's definitely been the standout. Jota came in, the international boys came in a week later. Jota's been impressive. I thought he was excellent again on Saturday there. Obviously the clips are flying about YouTube and Twitter. That poor guy. He's got a family. He's got a family, man.
I think I seen the clip saying Jota retiring folk in pre-season. The boy for Blackburn last week. I know.
He's. Oh. I know, two championship boys. They'll get the season full of confidence. So just the main culprits. I mean, one of the things I want to talk about was obviously with the goalkeeper. But obviously Hart's playing. I was going to say a sweeper, but he's like a certain mid. So I think we need to adjust to that style of play. I mean, Hart, I was quoted. It's a bit crazy, but
I can't say I'm loving it.
No, and you know what? If any bit of quality, I'm thinking they're going to have a dig. But I mean, the SPL, we might not get it in the SPL, but to reference your Champions League, there could be a bit of quality in there. The fancies a wee 60-yarder over the keeper's head. But that's a bit of a shift change. I mean, Ange did say that he likes to change every kind of season. He likes to add bits in, and I think having a full pre-season with the guys is exciting. And you know what? It's probably the first pre-season we've actually at the start of the league campaign against Aberdeen on Sunday where I've been actually happy with the squad we've got. I would have. We went into the season going, that's decent. We don't need to do this. We don't need to do that. We've got a really strong squad and basis because the work we've done in the summer, the January, and obviously the work we've done pre-season in terms of recruitment's been brilliant.
It does feel oddly different this year, and it's almost a strange feeling like
I'm cocky.
I'm not with the pitchfork like
the board gets sacked. The board.
It's ridiculous.
They really thought it through. They put a strategy in place and delivered on it.
And done it. We've done it.
It's the first time ever.
So in terms of the Joe Hart centre mid tactic, we won't be facing any Connor Salmons in the Champions League. James, what's your thoughts?
So tell me this time last year when they started playing the ball out for the back, how did you feel?
It's always heart attack material.
I'm still the same.
How do you feel now?
But what I did say fairly early on was this is just the way it's going to be. So exactly. I just need to live with it.
Yeah.
Slightly. I mean,
handball.
I know. But anyway, sorry, James.
Yeah, I just think that's it. It's the way it's going to be. He wants to create that, free up the centre half to then free up the fullback so they get to invert really early doors, So that, but other areas to improve. I don't think we're anywhere near Champions League ready. There's a lot of work to be done. There's players who've got to kind of get their boots on. I think there's going to be some new faces coming in before the end of August, and could be a kind of striker winger. We spoke about that before. We've got the centre half. That's a big one. We said, in fact, last week we said if that was the three positions: centre half, defensive midfielder, and striker. If you could pick one, what would you get? You'd go for the centre half. We've got that sorted, and he looks a classy player. So happy with that.
He does, and that was the next point for us to talk about. Was, do we feel he gives us cover, given that in the past 24 hours, reports appeared for Tino's good friend Anthony Joseph saying that Toulouse are interested in Stephen Welsh. Is
that right?
The kind of random club generator of European teams interested in Stephen Welsh has fell on Toulouse rather than Udinese this time. Yep. Two very strange links for me for Stephen Welsh. I don't see him as being somebody that's crying out for a continental brand of football, but it seems to be a continual link. What do you think there, Sinky? Would you be happy enough with Jens as the cover if Welsh had to go?
I believe we need 4 centre halves. I mean, Julian, obviously the Schalke move fell through. If he goes, it still leaves us a bit short with just Jens and Starfelt and CCV. Welsh is probably a good enough number 4 choice, so I'd like to see him stick around. But you're right, Udinese, Toulouse. It's quite interesting. A lot of Scottish players are starting to really starting to export with Lewis Ferguson going to Bologna and stuff like that. But I would keep him. I think the interest is flattering. I'd like to see him stay as 4th choice. And he will get a run of games, but maybe it's not as much playing time as he would wish, because obviously he played a lot in the COVID season.
Yes,
because we had no choice to play him, and he's kind of fell at that. But at the moment, even with Julian, he is probably 4th choice.
I see. I mean, just for following stuff on Twitter as I do, I see that the general consensus of the accounts that I read is that they don't deem Welsh to be good enough. James, you thinking the fact that Welsh has been linked with a move away rather than Julian suggests that there may be a way back for him under Ange? Julian, that is?
Nah, I think they're both going to go. If you're being selfish, Celtic would want to keep Welsh because of that cover. If you're Welsh, being on a bench for another season is no good at this time of your career. He's 23. He's as old as that. So he's got to be playing football. So I think even his agent will be making moves on his behalf to say, if it's a loan deal, great. I'd love him to go away, play regular football and come back, a first team player, because at the moment he's not there.
And there's another kind of link as well. Mikey Johnston being linked with Standard Liège under Ronnie Dylan nonetheless.
Of course, aye.
There's a lot about that move seems to make sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
I think Johnston lacking, we've touched on these points several times on several episodes of the show, lacking in confidence as a result, decision making shot to bits as a result. When he comes on at Celtic Park in particular, just looks like he does not want to be there.
Nobody near it on Saturday.
I think with Johnston alone and a rebuilding of confidence is exactly what's required.
100%. He needs to go somewhere and prove himself somewhere else, because when he's come on as a sub with us, he's not getting the confidence, plus he's trying hard, and you're right, when you put him in Celtic Park, you bring him on with 20 minutes to go and he does something, you know what's going to happen. The crowd are going to get their backs up and he's not going to get that. So taking himself out of the equation and going and proving himself somewhere else and then potentially coming back, I think that's the best for both parties.
So basically, Tino's turned his back for 2 minutes, we've sacked Mikey Johnson.
basically
that's it. Here, listen.
I know you'll be listening to this for your sick bed, mate. I'm sorry. I'd seen a bit of interaction on Twitter where, in response to the rumour that he was moving to Standard Liège, a guy had come on and said, Celtic fans have hounded Jack Henry away, who subsequently went for decent money. My own opinion is Jack Henry was never a Celtic centre-half, so fair play to Club Brugge if they want to pay $8 million for him. But as a consequence of this kind of rant on Celtic fans not giving young kids time, Mikey Johnston has liked the tweet by all accounts. Now, all I would say is I think that it still remains, despite some being more vitriolic than others, I think there remains a lot of goodwill for Mikey Johnston out there for Celtic fans. I think
he's a kind of player you want to do well,
we,
of course.
We want to see him doing well. There's no doubt in his talent. I think he just has to go away and effectively rebuild his game after a time where, it probably dates back to that incident at St Johnston where he tried to play on and got himself a really serious injury as a result, and it was that injury that kept him out. Easy to forget that Lennon actually had him as a fairly pivotal part of the squad early in his second tenure.
You certainly shouldn't be taking anything on your shoulders with Lennon's performance that night. You know, that's something you should just shake off and get on with it kind of thing. Lennon was pathetic. So yeah, players coming back from injuries, we see it a lot. You know, we talked about it earlier in the show. So I think he's now got to go away, play first team football for a team. I mean, we spoke about it last year, maybe at Dundee United was a kind of fit for him, that kind of thing, because he would be the star man. So wherever he goes, to be the top kiddie and play a full season of football.
Absolutely. Have you not your dinner before you come out tonight?
I'm a bit hungry now.
Pathetic.
Be a bit cranky.
It was a bit cranky.
That was
the minute you mentioned the L word, that was that.
Let me know, man. I put the tin hat on there, man.
Don't you dare.
I thought that was a horrendous behaviour.
Listen, it's a bygone. You know, we just need to forget about it. Other things just to consider then, I know we've already touched on Mooy. Tino's put here for us to discuss about, do we still need a number 6? Or yes. Do you think between Mooy, Adeguchi and McCarthy were covered? Are you still saying, so you want McGregor further forward?
You get two midfielders out and Rogic and Beaton, you need 2 midfielders in. So right. the squad midfielders are required. So I would have a 6. You saw McGregor for only maybe 10-15 minutes, unfortunately, but you saw him move into that advanced role. It was nice.
I just like him there. I said that last year. I like him there.
His link-up plays are great.
Someday, this might be a given his name. I know he's already moved. You spoke about Merler, Lewis Ferguson.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been an advancement for Champions League, but I thought he would have been a fairly safe bet to bring in and give us that sort of protector role in number 6, but it's gone now anyway, so decent it's a completely moot point.
I wouldn't have been overly disappointed, but he'd have had to come in with a view to, a lot more development. I think he's a good player, but like you say, there's a big gap between his current level and Champions League level. There's a wee bit of technicality that he would have helped us out with our Scottish trained players for Champions League squads and things like that. So, you maybe are looking at that kind of move, but I'd rather just sign a number 6 that really knows what he's doing first team.
The other thing for me was, I've said it for a couple of weeks now, and I think Giakoumakis being otherwise engaged over the past couple of weeks. Congratulations, by the way, big man, in case you listen. I think we probably need another attacking option. If Johnston goes, then definitely that would be the case for me. Maybe somebody that can't. I know we spoke about the Jordan Larsson signing, but someone like that can play either off the wing. Yeah. Somebody like, I'm not saying we would sign him, but somebody like Jared Bowen for West Ham, you see that kind of inside forward almost that kind of plays through the middle as well. I think, should anything happen to Hugo or Giakoumakis, I don't like Maeda through the middle. I think we maybe need something else up there.
You're right. That very happens to the two, obviously it did last year. Maeda's not a centre forward. I much prefer him playing left coming in. Abada was an option. I thought Abada, when he played against St Johnston, he done all right.
Absolutely. You'll then lose Abada.
Exactly, I know. Exactly. And then you've got Forrest coming in.
Right, that's enough.
Sorry.
Do you know, I want to get this on done.
I've had
enough.
Go on.
I've had enough.
Go on.
Right.
Get it out.
As far as I'm concerned, right, this is just me personally, Forrest has had effectively 2 seasons of stop-start stuff. So I think if you play Forrest for a full season, as you've seen in past seasons, his numbers don't lie. He scores goals. He assists.
I think his numbers do lie.
No, they don't. They don't. It's impossible. It's impossible. Facts are facts.
He's got the
facts are facts.
The rods out. He's just
facts are facts. So where is this angst coming from, Sinky? Surely we have to support all members of this squad.
Absolutely, and he's got my full support. Great, Greg Taylor. I'm only joking. Don't want to wind you up too much. He's been a great servant, right? He's getting to that point in his career, right? He's been stop-start for 2 years. He's never going to get back to the levels required. He's going to come on 5-10 minutes to go most games. He might get a run out against lesser opposition. I love him, right? But I think it's the writing's on the wall. Sorry, mate.
This is 100% bait. I know this. James, you surely cannot agree with that summation.
I think I do.
That's the first time you've ever agreed.
I think all you need to look at is the when you're going from your first 11 to your replacements, how big is the gap in quality between the first and the second? And it can't be as big as it is between the likes of Abada and Forest. So personally, I think it's, out to pasture, and we should be signing a better winger there. Just he lacks, this is harsh, but he lacks a bit of bravery to be an Ange player. Taking guys on, going past guys.
When you say he lacks bravery, he gives the impression sometimes that he's hiding Forest, and that, by the way, I'm one of his biggest fans. But in terms of bravery, comes in different forms in the football park, as well. If you've played the game at any level, bravery sometimes about taking the ball in a tight position, showing when somebody's under pressure with the ball and all those things. He's sometimes got a tendency to run parallel with a defender instead of pulling off and going into space. But I think overall, I think he is just a constant goal threat. Sometimes you need to take it off with the smooth with him. I accept that point. He might not always be having a stellar game. I just think he's proven over the years that he is someone that can always pop up with that moment of
undeniable,
quality.
Yeah.
And he's certainly more likely to do it than the Mikey Johnston, who was looking like he was going to be about the squad. So
faint praise.
No, come on. I mean, I don't think. I think Abada's got huge potential, but I don't think there's such a huge quality gap between him and Forrest. I don't think there is. I would take issue with that point. However, I would like to have been seeing a wee bit more from pre-season, and that's with me being a fan. So, all in all, we can conclude word of his place in the squad. So, moving on next, we've got
the myth exchange.
Please don't disturb the host. So. You touched on the fact Iraguchi wasn't part of the squad. Yep. Also, Mikey Johnston wasn't part of the squad, but we've kind of discussed that. Iraguchi's a funny one for me. I think you're right in what you say, Sinky. I think you might actually see him. Not that I'm trying to hound him, out the contrary, but I think it makes sense for him to go and play games somewhere. Again, possibly on a loan. And then coming back. But I don't want to kind of go over that point. Just regarding the squad then, and is there anything else you want to touch upon in terms of positions and the squad depth, or do you think we've already identified the areas that we need to strengthen?
I think so. We always just use those three: centre half, centre mid, defensive mid rather, and a winger striker. So two to go potentially. I think they'll get filled between now and the end of August. Last
one for me is around McGregor. So if you're signing a number 6, it's McGregor, Hatate in that number 6 over there.
I think so. Yeah,
that's the way that it's looking.
Mm-hmm.
That would then suggest that whoever is coming in is going to need to be of significant quality,
ready to go. Yeah,
because I think McGregor's already shown a fairly excellent aptitude for playing that position. But I'm a great believer that he should be playing further forward. I think he's got that kind of reverse pass through ball in him, which he's not really having the chance to display for playing at the number 6.
Yeah, I think that's what is going to happen. As much as I like O'Reilly, I think it's going to be, if you sign that defensive midfielder, it's going to be McGregor moving forward. Just think about how much freedom that would give him, So that's the move for me.
Exactly, a good 6. Protect the back 4, get the ball, give it to your Hatate, give it to your McGregor, and off you pop. That's it. I mean, McGregor, it's a waste, him playing in the 6. He's link up play, he's driving with the ball. I mean, him driving with the ball opens up space, and the way we play wide most times. So he's so more effective in that advanced role than having to play in a 6. I mean, I know he's filled a bit of a gap, but you're right. I mean, there's quality out there. If we can get someone who's ready to go in that role, they'll we're not a winner, because we've got that is for me, that is all we need.
It's a bit of an unlock, isn't it?
It is an unlock, because you're freeing up McGregor to do what McGregor does. So a 6, even though we've signed the big man for Australia, but that's a position that I would like to see filled. And Andrew's quite coy this week, is saying we're still active, which is a big statement to make. But if the quality's there, and I think we obviously trust the big man. If the quality's there, whoever we bring in, they should be good to go. Absolutely.
I mean, I think back to when Rodgers joined. Under Dyla, I wasn't necessarily a huge fan of McGregor. However, as the years progressed under Rodgers, you could clearly see just he'd got in his head and had convinced him he was a very good player, and he started to see that coming out of the park. I think some of the goals he scored playing from that attacking position under Rodgers. And he's also, for a midfielder, he's got that ability to get past a player as well. Yeah. He's quite good at running, even think of the Rangers game last year when he at Ibrox. just as a driving force, I quite like that idea of him being in there. He's still quite dynamic, even though, you know, he's getting to his late 20s and things like that. So for me, the thought of McGregor playing a bit further up the park is a definite positive. However, the caveat to that is the player that comes in to cover the number 6 of the same quality as him, because he's shown he's so good at playing there as well. So that remains to be seen. So we'll move on from there, guys. I wish I had a concept of the time, but I know Sinky's timing this for me, so he can give me an idea. But we want to talk about the kick. Oh, lovely. We want to talk about the kickoff and what we've all been waiting for. You know, the pre-season has seemed particularly long because we've not had any qualifiers to panic about. So Flag Day against Aberdeen wasn't a great season for the Dandy Dons last year. I think their big project kind of fell flat on its face fairly early doors. Jim Goodwin taking over. He knows how to be pretty stodgy against us. He's produced a few kind of stoic defensive performances when he was at St Mirren against us. Although they finished 10th last year, I mean, they seem to be lively.
Yeah.
Pre-season, they're not going to be that bad again, are they, James?
No, I think there'll be a challenge. I don't think there'll be a challenge for the league, but I think they'll get in amongst it. I think they'll be finishing top 4 certainly. I'm a big fan of Goodwin's. I think he's a good manager, and you never know down the line if he continues to progress and impress. He could be a Celtic manager one day, but remains to be seen what he does. This is a big season for him personally, because he's been given the platform for a Verticom's big club kind of thing. So they've been active. They've got, made some good signings. Be a tough game on Sunday, and I think Aberdeen, like I say, will do well this year. So
what you're saying is if Aberdeen won on Sunday, it would be a good win. Right, we'll move over to Sinky. Sinky, what's your thoughts on the game?
Tino come back. What's the game? I think that was a one-off for the Dons last year. Goodwin's a good manager. He came in, steadied the ship. He said, I feel pre-season, get his team probably to play his style of football. He's always kind of set up against us, obviously when he was St Mirren. Gave us a few good games. I think it's all about us this year. I mean, regardless of the opposition, Flag Day, Parkhead, place will be rocking. I'll give you a score prediction if you want. I think it's going to be 4 or 5. Easy.
I'll take that.
Easy.
Yeah, James, you want to wire in?
Yeah, I'd go for 4.
Easy. We're still going to be stodgy and hard to beat. 5-0.
Aye, Jim Goodwin's a good manager. The Dons are flying, but I found out Celtic. What I noticed, just to reference back to the Blackburn and Norwich games, the Celtic started and lost a goal because they tried to play really rapid one-touch football, just inside their own half. It was the first thing they did as well against Norwich, suggesting that typical Ange, no negotiation over how we're playing, go out and do it. And they did, from played it back forward, boom, attack. It was really, really fast stuff. I think that's what you're just going to see Celtic starting fast, but I think that what balances that off is we do seem to be that wee bit more open at the back as a result. Even Norwich, they didn't threaten readily, but when they did have chances, they were good chances because they were in straight away. So for me, it's just really, really interesting. But I think the atmosphere is going to be very raucous. Was it 4, half 4? On a Sunday. And what Celtic fans are like. They'll just set the clock 12 hours before the kick-off to start drinking. So if a Rangers game's at 12, they just start drinking the night before. But no, I think it's got to be quite a raucous atmosphere. Some stats here provided to us by Tino, because Tino obviously stats. They've won all 4 of their League Cup games, scoring 12 goals, conceding 0. Some big teams, Peterhead, Dumbarton, Stirling Albion and Wraith Rovers. Liam Scales, interestingly enough, has started throughout those 4 games at left centre back. Scales, I don't think it's a lost cause at all. I think there's something.
He'll go back, yeah.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, Aberdeen have some of their fans on Twitter crying out for a permanent deal. They want to sign him. So
I'd seen that.
I've seen it, exactly. He must be doing great. But it just to show you, when you look at McGregor, Notts County, Ayer went to Kilmarnock, Scales might fall into that bracket, and I believe
Christie.
Exactly, Christie as well. I believe that I'm hoping he kicks on. Good. I think it's a good place to go. It's a good move for him and a good move for us, because he'll get game time. He's working on a good manager. I take it he's not playing on Sunday.
Yeah, he's not playing.
That's good.
No, ineligible.
6-0.
That was also part of the stats that I'd offered. I just missed that bit out.
Okay,
I'm new to this game, lads. I'm new to this game.
I've got you.
It's a tough game to be facing in the opening day. That random fixture computer, pulling out probably one of the toughest games you can get. Funny that. I would imagine Aberdeen are going to be better. I know maybe the opposition they've been facing haven't been stellar, but I'd imagine they're going to be better. I agree with you. I think it's about the shape that we're in. Don't think we can really ask to be in much better shape. I think we've seen enough. I know we've drawn a couple of games in pre-season we maybe should have won, but I think overall, I think you'd have to be happy that the big players all seem to be fit and firing before the start of the season, Sinky.
No, we're good to go. Absolutely. We've got pretty much a full strength squad. Ange has probably got his first 11 in his head, who's going to go away on Sunday, but it's exciting. It is exciting. It's probably the most exciting I've been, because you've the whole Champions League stuff. We're just waiting for that draw now to see where we're going. Or see, we're asking where we're going, or see where we're going. See if we get permission slip signed. But it's the most exciting I've been for a season for a long time. I know we came into our own before Christmas last year, but now we've got a full season, and we've got a settled team. It's just, bring on Sunday.
That's saying something, because I know how excitable Sinky is. So he's saying this is the most excited he's been. That's major. That's major. What about yourself, James?
I mean, first and foremost, back to competitive football. It's been a long old summer there with no tournaments in the middle and stuff like that. So getting back into competitive football, that's exciting in itself. But I think they're flying. I think they're really ready to go, and they're keen, and they're settled. There's been good changes. There's good competition for the likes of Taylor and stuff, and he's stepping up. Ralston, to say from Saturday, he stepped up again from what he delivered last year. So there's a good energy about the club, and it looks like they're going to deliver on it.
Looks like Tino's kind of gave you a sneak peek at the agenda, because the next point we've got to talk about was the starting 11, and that's that. There's three positions that Tino's, the three that Tino's kind of flagged up. So the two full-back positions, and also centre-half position. Mm-hmm. He's not really included anything in there about the strikers, but I think you'll naturally come to that point. So for me, Ralston v Juranovic, I think Juranovic is an outstanding player. I really do. However, if you've put that jersey up and you've said, right, just best performances in pre-season wins it, in my opinion, I think it's Ralston. Mm-hmm. But I fully expect Juranovic to be the person that starts. Sinky, what's your opinion?
I'm with you, but I do believe the fullbacks will rotate like the midfield. So it might be a case Juranovic for a couple of weeks and then Ralston in. But looking at pre-season, Ralston's not put a foot wrong since Ange came in the door. He's been absolutely outstanding. He's got the creation right back ahead of him. Do you know what I mean? So Juranovic will start the majority of games, but I think it's going to be a case, so that'll be rotated. And the other side, pretty similar story.
James, on that debate, where would you sit?
It's got to a stage now where you're not fussed when the team sheet comes out and it's either or. And that's all credit to Tony Ralston, because like you and yourself think, Juranovic is a class player. Probably the best right back we've had for a long time. I think there's a wee bit of there's been a bit of noise about his interest from elsewhere, and obviously it's not Atletico, but it might be someone. So maybe his agent's making noise, and that's unsettled him a wee bit. So on Sunday, I'd probably still go with Juranovic for now, but he'd want to watch his back because Ralston's right beside him.
Chat me door.
Aye, definitely. And then the next one's Taylor v Burnaby. What would your opinion be on that, James?
Taylor, Burnaby's not ready yet.
Say that again, sorry.
Burnaby's not ready yet.
No, the first bit.
Greg Taylor, please.
First bit, yes, thank you. What about yourself then?
Still Taylor. Taylor's jersey to lose. Young guy will take a wee bit of time to settle. You find out if he's a left back or a left winger. Still to be discussed. That may be your answer to your wing problem. But yeah, Taylor has had a great end to the season. He had a great 6 months actually for Christmas onwards. He's been great, and it's his position to lose. The boy will chat the door eventually. But it's Taylor all day.
And finally, last one up for debate on this section anyway was Welsh v Jens. Sinky, I'll come to you. What's your thoughts on that?
I'm going to say Jens straight away. James touched on it at the start. He just looks a classy player. He's got good in the ball. Welsh, I know he's been there. He's been there and done it, but get the new guy in. Aberdeen at home, why not?
So yes for Jens for Sinky. What about yourself there, Jim?
No bother. If they come for that Jens straight away. Welsh might be out the building by then. So it might be you're talking Jens or Julian. I think the debate more centres around in a month's time, is it Jens or Starfelt? That's the chat.
Yeah, well, I think that's a fair point, and I think probably the fact that a rumour's come out about Welsh, after one game or Jens or a week of training, for Jens maybe suggests that the coaching staff are comfortable enough with who they've signed to say we don't need to worry about him.
You want Jens to hit the ground running, and you want Starfelt to come back and try and get his place back and prove a point. So that competition is going to be really healthy between. CCV's an absolute stick on. As I said, Starfelt, I know he's got his critics, but I thought he came out a really good game last year against Rangers, especially. He was very harshly criticised. He looks uncomfortable, but this guy seems to be a bit more quality in the ball, a bit more comfortable. So we'll see what happens over the course of the next month.
So, on the back of that, you've already alluded to it with your fairly excitable scoreline predictions. So I'm just going to come back. I've given you a bit more to. I know you were a bit jumping that 4-0, 5-0, -3 at half time.
This is what happens when we don't play the league game.
It's pre-season. We need to get all this exuberance out. Is right, but I'll come to you first, James. Scoreline prediction, and Guy's a first goal scorer, just in case anybody likes a wee punt.
4-0, Jens, first goal scorer.
Oh, wow.
Corner.
He's got him in the team and
talk about being a bit different, eh?
Wow. Turning 50. Well, we'll give you that.
Thank you.
Kyogo.
Lovely.
And I'm going to stick to 5. I'm going to go with 5. 5-0.
4-0, 5-0, eh? Right, brilliant. I am going to go, I think about 10, I'm going to go 2-0. 2-0 Celtic. Goal scorer.
Hatate.
Let's see. I can't go for Jens. You went for that, the popular one, James. I'll go for McGregor. McGregor, captain's role. So I think I've timed this quite nicely, lads, for my first goal. Let me see. It's not bad.
Slick.
Final thoughts. Listen, you know what you're getting. You know what you're getting, James. You know what you're getting. Final thoughts. Sinky, have you enjoyed your first show back? Firstly, and what's your final thoughts as we close out?
No, it's good to be back. Pre-season's pre-season, but the real stuff starts on Sunday. So,
that's literally what it says here. Tino's definitely showed us this. This is
we're in the sync. I'm looking forward to get the season underway. It's exciting times, straight in the Champions League. But as I said, the fun starts on Sunday with the 5-0 demolition of Aberdeen. Cannot wait.
Yeah, just great to be back at it. Ange's second season, players and guys that played for Ange over the years have said it's his second season, but he does his really impressive stuff. So long may it continue.
That is the exciting bit. It's just like, that'd be very good. That'd be very good.
Never started yet, yeah.
So just before we move on, what do you think about hosting the Celtic Exchange? Who's your favourite Celtic Exchange host?
Paddy.
Paddy was good.
Paddy's all right now.
Paddy was good, wasn't he?
Listen, you've stepped up. You've stepped up to the mark. Big shoes to fill.
With my wee feet.
we record the show on a Monday, but we might have a Monday club after this.
I'll definitely be having a Monday club. Absolutely. So, after an unheard of 11 weeks without a competitive fixture, Celtic finally returned to the Scottish Premiership action against Aberdeen on Sunday as Ange and the boys set out to retain their league title. It feels like it could be a very exciting season, and we'll be with you every step of the way here at the Celtic Exchange. Thanks to James and Sinky for joining me on today's show, and thanks to you as always for tuning in. Don't forget to visit thecelticexchange.supercast.com for more info on our Celtic Exchange Plus offering. But in the meantime, from all of us here, we'll see you again next time. Thank you.